we found that the Act is very weak with regards to regulating the flow of migrants into our state. That is very important because we can also know the antecedent of the migrant labor, whether he has any cases within 5 years or has he ever been convicted. Contractors who are working on projects amounting to crores, they can simply pay that 5,000 rupees penalty. We always got one common answer, and that is it is under examination. If the government is not doing anything, the government is not conducting checks, then we have to do it. KSU never harass tourists. So our question to the central government is that you grant ILP to Manipur in 2019. So what does the state or central government mean by, whereas Meghalaya, if given ILP, will infringe upon Article 19, but they can give ILP to Manipur.
Recently, we've seen several checks that have been going on to check the migrant laborers that have been coming in the state. Today, or the July 26th, we have seen a section of NGOs have also stopped vehicles plying to tourist places, where tourist vehicles with Assam registration numbers. Now, to understand the emotions of the NGOs, I'm being joined by Donald Thabah, who's the General Secretary of the Khasi Students Union, who will speak to us more further on what's exactly going on and what is the reason for the checks and the visits that we have been seeing over the past few months. First, thank you for joining us. Firstly, let me start with on July 26, we've seen the Deputy Chief Minister, also the Home Minister, Preston. He's clearly warned NGOs for taking matters into their own hands, and also said that law will take its own course, and also invited NGOs for talks. Now, how do you look at this, and what would you like to say?
Well, with regards to the statement issued by the Deputy Chief Minister, Preston, we would like to inform him that the Chief Minister had earlier invited the leaders of the Khasi Students Union to his chamber in Secretariat to discuss regarding various issues with regards to safeguarding the rights of the microscopic indigenous people of Meghalaya. We had a series of thorough deliberations with him, and we found out that while the government insists on implementation of the Meghalaya Registration, Identification, Safety and Security of Migrant Workers Act 2020, we found that the Act is very weak with regards to regulating the flow of migrants into our state. But however, the KSU insists on the proper implementation of the Interstate Migrant Workmen Act 1979, in which the rules were amended by the state government in 2011. If we compare between those two acts, we can see that the Interstate Migrant Workmen Act, or the work permit, is much more strong than the act passed in 2020. For example, whereas the documents for the Interstate Migrant Workmen Act includes the voter ID, other IDs. What is most important is the contractor and the laborer should submit a police verification from the respective state, that is from the respective thana in which the residence is under the jurisdiction of. So that is very important because we can also know the antecedent of the migrant labor, whether he has any cases within 5 years or has he ever been convicted. That is number one, which we feel that it is very important for the Interstate Migrant Workmen Act to be implemented. Number two is the penalty. We can see that in the act passed in 2020, they do mention that if a contractor fails to comply with the Meghalaya Registration, Identification of Safety and Security of Workers Act 2020, they will be penalized with a fine of 5,000 rupees. So our question is not talking only about local contractors. Those local contractors who are working on projects amounting to crores, they can simply pay that 5,000 rupees penalty. Imagine those huge construction companies coming from outside of the state. 5,000 rupees is nothing to them. However, in the Interstate Migrant Workmen Act, there is a provision that a contractor can be subjected to imprisonment for almost 1 year. So we feel that that is very important. When we talk with the Chief Minister regarding these provisions, he just assured us that these will be our complaints will be looked upon, and if possible it might be incorporated into the 2020 Act. But we from the Khasi Students Union, we feel that we cannot keep on waiting, because every time whenever we talk to the government, whether it is with the Interstate Migrant Workmen Act, whether it is with the MRSSA, or whether it is with the ILP, and even the inclusion of the Khasi language in the age schedule, we always got one common answer, and that is it is under examination. The state government is still examining the MRSSA, and now it's going to examine the incorporation of the provisions of Interstate Migrant Workmen Act into the 2020 Act. ILP is under examination by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Similarly, the inclusion of the Khasi language in the age schedule is also under examination. So we cannot wait for, because these examinations have been taken on for quite a long time. ILP has been examined since 2019, although our movement started in 1985. MRSSA became an act in 2016, but without even implementing the principal act, they amended the act, which attracted the Ministry of Home Affairs, whereas the governor also decides not to give his assent, and the Ministry of Home Affairs, as per the Deputy Chief Minister, told us that it had been sent back to the state. So how long are we going to wait for the implementation of either the principal act or the amended act? Therefore, all these compelled the KSU to set up ILP checkpoints and to conduct checking on migrant laborers.
Now, to what extent will KSU go about, till you, like we've seen, you're going to pressurize the state and central government to implement ILP and MRSSA, and we've seen several summons. Firstly, can you tell us total how many summons have been made to the members of KSU?
Till today, 22 summons have been issued to the leaders of the KSU, which includes 6 members of the Central Executive Council. And just today itself, we received news that 2 more leaders from the KSU West Khasi District Unit will be summoned. They will have to appear before the IO of Northern Police Station on the 31st of this month.
With these summons, will this, make you all sit back and, stop your fight?
No, these will not deter us. There are KSU members who are still languishing in jail also, but that will not deter us. Such things, efforts by the government to stop our agitation will not work. We will continue the fight. We will continue to ensure that people of diverse antecedents will not be able to enter the state and to get their names in the electoral roll of the state.
But there's also been a question that has been asked widely that, who are NGOs to carry out checks? How are they taking matters or law into their own hands? So how do you respond to that?
Actually, what you're saying, it came as a direct question to me from a certain minister of the government of Meghalaya. He told me that the NGOs, the KSU, has no authority to conduct such checkings. It is the duty of the government. My reply is that if the government is not doing anything, the government is not conducting checks, then we have to do it. We have to step in the role of the government.
Okay. So rightly what we have seen is the government till date has a time and again been mentioning that the ILP is in the court of the central government, that they're still examining, as rightly mentioned by the General Secretary. But I also wanted your comment. Today, what we have seen by one of the NGO who have gone ahead and stopped cars with Assam registration numbers at Umtangar, this incident occurred. Does the KSU, condone or appreciate such kind of things? Like, is it okay, or do you feel harassing tourists and stopping tourists to go about is a wise thing to do, or how do you look at it?
I cannot speak with regards to the activities of other pressure groups, but I would like to make it very clear that the KSU never harass tourists. When we set up ILP checkpoints in Arphomer in Riboy district and in Umkyang in East Gentle Hills district, we clearly instruct our members and they follow it right to the point, not to harass tourists. When we stop vehicle, they just show us their ID and they told us that they are going to Senang Pedang, or they are going to Sora, or they are going to other places of tourism. We never harass them, we never stop them. We also conduct check on migrant laborers. We conduct check on people who are entering, because there are certain people who, when we are conducting checking, they don't have even a voter ID also, which makes us question what is the infiltration check yet, what is it doing there in Bernihat. You will never see KSU members barging into hotels and asking tourists who are staying there to leave. We never go to tourist spot to harass tourists. We understand that tourism and influx are two different issues which cannot be related. A tourist can come, he will stay maybe for even a week, visit many places, maybe even contribute also to the economy of the state, though not much, and then they will go back. Students can also come from other state. I received call from certain students from Mizoram also saying, are we safe that we came here to study in Shillong? I told them, you are very much safe. You came here to pursue your study. Nobody will stop you. KSU will not stop you, because we understand that after completion of their studies, they will go back to their respective states. However, when we speak about other people, including migrant laborers, yes, migrant laborers can go back, but they might not also go back. If they come, suppose if they don't apply for Interstate Migrant Workmen Act, if the government is not conducting checking to see that they renew their license also, then there is a possibility that they will disappear and they will mingle with the local populace, and they might get enrolled in the electoral roll, which in turn will affect the indigenous people, whereby they will become minority within their own state, and thus they will lose their political power. But once again, we would like to reassure that the KSU will not harass tourists, and we have never done that also.
You've already made it very clear that KSU does not harass tourists. So for this, because if one NGO is making a mistake, doesn't it require all NGOs to come to an understanding not to harass tourists and carry out such restrictions to vehicles carrying tourists? So do you think that it needs to you need to come to a consensus and understand what is the motive here?
You see, there are hundreds of NGOs in our state who are functioning with their own objectives, with their own agenda. There are NGOs who are really working for the betterment of the indigenous people. There are also NGOs who are, which we cannot say that they are really working for what they are saying. So they have their own central committee, they have their own aims and objectives, so we cannot speak to them, we cannot dictate to them. The KSU is an organization. Yes, we work with other NGOs in various issues, but we cannot tell them don't do this, do that. We, the KSU, have our own system of how to ensure that the demographic structure of our state will not be affected if the government is not doing anything.
Okay. And lastly here, how confident are you that this manner in which you all are carrying out the checks and the setting up of ILP gates and all will lead to a success where we can expect ILP to be implemented? How hopeful or how confident are you that what you all are doing will be a
With regards to confidence, I cannot speak on that, but we are determined. We are determined to fight, to continue the fight until the ears of both the state and the central government are open. Because even a nominated MP of Raja Thabah also called me up and said that, why are you doing this? Why are you stopping people coming to your state? So I explained to him the reality and regarding the issue. So he told me that he can take up the issue of the inclusion of the Khasi language, the ILP, and various other issues with the Prime Minister and the Union Home Minister. But till date he is quiet. So we would like to state that one thing in which I would like to reiterate again is that the government of India the government of India is not giving us ILP as per the state government because it infringes upon Article 19, which states that freedom of movement of people in India, the Indians can move freely in India. So our question to the central government is that you grant ILP to Manipur in 2019. So what does the central government mean by, whereas Meghalaya, if given ILP, will infringe upon Article 19, but they can give ILP to Manipur. ILP movement in Manipur started in 2015. Government of Manipur passes 3 resolutions, and in 2019 they get ILP. But for us, movement started in 1985. There are a series of agitations in 1987 and then 1992, 2001 and 2013. The government passed a resolution in 2019. There's all the 60 members of the house that ILP should be implemented in Meghalaya, but the central government is still silent. And what is the state government doing also? Every time when the press, the journalists ask them what is the status of ILP, they always give the answer that it is being examined.
Thank you so much, Ba, for that insight and the detailed discussion that we've just had. And as Ba Donald has rightly mentioned, that a question arises here that if the central government could implement ILP in Manipur, then why not Meghalaya? This question that KSU keeps questioning, and as the General Secretary has highlighted here, that the KSU are not here to harass tourists, but their main fight is to check on the influx and the illegal immigration that is taking place in the state, and the demand and the fight for ILP will continue further ahead. This is Princess Rasha reporting for EastMojo.com in Shillong.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to East Mojo. For any queries, put them down in the comments section below and press on the bell icon for notifications.